Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. We're on episode 118. Again, I just want to thank everybody for being part of this podcast, being part of this journey. I was just talking to Stacey. We hit 60,000 unique listeners. I think we have some like 121,000 downloads. I just started this podcast 3.5 years ago, and it was a passion project. And I'm so grateful for all of you. So thank you for listening. And this podcast wouldn't be where it was without my beautiful co-host. I'm introducing the stunning, the healer extraordinaire, and now published author, Stacey Brown. Stace, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, friends. We're so happy to be spending some time with you again today. My name is Stacey. I am an intuitive. I do intuitive readings and Akashic record readings for people around the world. I'm also a spiritual coach and mentor. We have an amazing mentorship program that changes lives with actionable steps to creating the life that you desire. And yes, I'm also a recently published author. My book, Journey to Soul Center Discovering the Gift of Surrender, is available now on Amazon and Audible.
Thank you, Stace. Hi, everybody. I'm Nims. I'm also an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, and a spiritual coach and mentor. And yeah, the mentorship program Stace mentioned is beautiful. It's changing lives. I feel so very blessed with the work I get to do, guiding souls. I really do feel that the universe is kind of pushing us in a way to shine our light, and I get to guide people on what that light looks like. I recently left my corporate role, and I'm now dedicated to creating this healing business. It's a brave new world, and I'm excited for whatever comes. And as we begin, I just want to talk about some of the things that we do. So we love this podcast. We love the interaction. We love the message and the DMs we get. We also want to just do something which allowed you to experience what me and Stace do at a more personal level. So what we started to do was a monthly Zoom call. And the monthly Zoom call is it's a 90-minute session where we have a conscious conversation, we'll do a meditation, we'll do an activation. We'll also open the group Akashic Records and channel a message. And you get to experience what we're like on a more visual perspective. So it's on Zoom. Obviously, you can be on screen. You don't have to be. It's not mandatory, but it is a different vibration. So our next Zoom call is on Thursday, the 15th of February. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Pacific. I'll include the link in the show notes. We also post it on social media. So do follow us on social media. We post reels and other stuff on there, but we would love to have you join us on the Zoom call. It's a nice way to interact. It's free, and you get to experience what me and Stacey do at a much more intimate level. How do you feel about Zoom call, Stace?
It's one of my favorite things. It's great to have everybody come together as a community to experience some connection with like-minded souls. And I feel like the messages are always really profound. I'm excited.
So am I. I always look forward to them. And I always more recently I've been recording the meditation that we do in the Zoom call and the downloads that come through the Akashic Records and posting them as a podcast. So if you have listened to them, normally they're the mid-month Akashic message. So if you want to experience what one looks like, or if you already have, maybe it's time for you to join us live. So this week's episode, if you've heard this podcast before, you've heard us talk about Akashic Records, and it's a big part of what we do. I release a monthly episode where I channel a message. But we thought we'd dive deeper into what are Akashic Records in an episode. So this week's episode is all about exploring the Akashic Records. And you've heard of me talk about my journey through the Akashic Records. This podcast was started because I got a message through the records that my voice is my gift. I need to use it. So, and that led me down a journey, right? That led me down a journey to start this podcast. I named it after my mentor friend after she left this realm. Her name's Sidra Jafri. So I honored her and her influence on my journey. as part of the podcast using her initials. Her initials are SJ, and this podcast is called Spiritual Journey. So I use the same initials. But really, when we go dive deep into the records, I feel so blessed with my journey to the records, kind of how the records have changed my life. Not only influencing started this podcast, the mentorship program we mentioned was channeled through the records. Kind of everything we do on a regular basis is influenced in some kind of way with the records. So we really felt it'd be good to kind of dive deep. So why don't we start with what are the records? So this is again just my perspective, and I believe that we've all accessed the records in some kind of way. So whether you've done a meditation, an activation, channeled a message, in some way, I believe you've accessed the records. And the records for me are everywhere. I started out when I had learned how to read the records, kind of thinking the records as a library, because some people talk about the Akashic Record Library, right? The records. So then I used to visualize a library. I actually even have a podcast on this. I think it's episode 7 where I have a guided meditation where I take you to the library of the Akasha and experience 3 past lives. And if that's what you want to visualize, that's true for you, and that's great. Some people see it as a cloud. For me, it's kind of, I guess I've got to a point where I feel it's everywhere because everything has an Akashic record, your home, your business, obviously you personally. So the records are everywhere. And that's why for me, it's kind of become more of a way of life than a thing. So, the records are a record of everything your soul's been through, current life, past life, parallel life, future life. Everything about you is stored in the records. And obviously, as a human, you wouldn't be able to take everything your soul's been through, every single past life, everything. But what the records do is give you a glimpse that you're ready to receive. And whether that's you booking a reading and receiving that, or whether that's you connecting with the records and doing that on your own after being guided, you get what you're ready to receive. But bear in mind, they're an insight into your soul which guides your human. So it may include past lives, current lives. It may include guidance to your soul contracts in this life. It may include um, even future lives and what's coming. It all depends on what you're ready to receive and what you need to receive. Because that's the thing with the records is we don't always get what we want, or we get what we need. So I'm passionate about the records. I love them. They are, in some way, I feel like I need to protect them, even though the records don't need protecting. But they've changed my life and they've had a profound impact. I have the blessing to also, as well as the read for people, to guide people to the records. So I don't believe we train people on how to read the records. I believe at a soul level, you already know how to access the records, but the human has to remember. So what I believe we do is we guide people to the records. We'll talk more about that through as we go through this episode. But I had the benefit and the blessing of guiding Stacey to the records. She was a supernatural to the whole process. And it's also led us to have a unique way of reading, which means that you get a reading from both of us. You get divine feminine, divine masculine. It's a beautiful process. And again, we can talk more about what that looks like. But before we go there, I'd love to hear from Stace on what has the Akashic Records meant for her? How does she see them? Any information she wants to share. Over to you, Stace.
So I feel for the first time in talking about the records that I kind of need to delve back to the past and kind of my experiences with connection, et cetera. For those who don't know or haven't listened to the podcast before, I was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon faith. And in the Mormon faith, there is a practice that when you turn a certain age, and forgive me for not remembering, I think it was like 16 or something like that, um, you were offered the opportunity to have something called a patriarchal blessing, where a male who had been designated into the role of that process would place their hands upon your head and say a prayer and then deliver whatever information was meant for you. There was like some foreshadowing about like what your life was meant to be, etc. Now, would they talk about it in this way, in these terms? No, I just want to be clear. But that was the only like ritual experience that I had with like an intentional prayer being said to welcome in an energy. Again, not the wording that they would use, but that's what it was. And so when I first heard about the wording Akashic Records, I was like, it was foreign to me. It felt uncomfortable to me. I didn't really understand the concept. It was something I had never heard of in my life before. And so I remember having a couple of conversations about Akashic Records with you and just feeling um, like some hesitation. You know, when something's new and it's brought into your orbit and you haven't heard it before, it can feel uncomfortable. And I would say that was my first impression, was to feel uncomfortable. I think a lot of this comes from the way that I was raised, right? I knew a certain way of being and a certain way of doing, and this didn't fit into that, which is ironic because nothing I was doing was aligning with what I lived before. But this for me was like a really pivotal point because it was a modality that I was curious about but didn't understand. And we went through the process of, you know, kind of, for me, I did a little bit of research, right? I had to know, like, what is this process? What does this mean? Is this associated with a specific religion or faith? I wanted to know more. And so I kind of like went into a deep dive of trying to understand exactly what this process was. And then I spent time with you while I was in the UK, and we sat in the very kitchen that you're sitting in right now, and we opened the records. And what I found was this beautiful process that I didn't know existed was offering me connection to my soul's journey in a way that I had never experienced before. And I wouldn't say immediately, but I would say pretty quickly, it was something that I became both fascinated with and attached to. And there's a specific process that we follow to bring you into that space. But I think for me, initially, it was about my connection with the records, meaning my own records and what that felt like and what was revealed to me. And then I started to get interested in the idea of sharing that with other people and seeing if I could provide them clarity on their journey. Um, it was totally out of my comfort zone. So if you're listening to this right now and you've never heard of Akashic Records before, if you are feeling like we're speaking a totally different language, I want you to know I get it, because that's where I was. And it took me some time to integrate the information and process it in a way that I understood what I felt about it. Um, I think what's really beautiful about spirituality versus religion is that there's not a one size fits all process, right? Like some of us will feel connected to yoga, and some of us will feel connected to oracle cards, and some of us will feel connected to tarot. And to me, the Akashic records are just another modality and another way to connect. But it offers you connection to your entire soul's journey in almost like snapshots. It might not be literal snapshots for you, but it's like you get pieces of what your soul has experienced through its history, which is something that I think a lot of us want to know, right? You know, I'm sure many of us have been told that we're an old soul, and wanting to know about that soul and go through that journey can be so eye-opening, so educational, so informative, so moving. And there is not one experience that I've had with the records that has been the same, because everybody's journey is different. So it has been something that for me has become a part of the modalities that work for me. And I don't just mean for opening the records for other people. I find even opening the records for me has offered me wisdom and insight when I'm facing challenges. It's offered me a space to connect with my soul family, my angels, my guides. Um, it's a deeper way of me being connected to the journey that I have been through to get me to this place.
Love it. Love it. And I hear what you're saying when you say, some people out there might be listening and thinking, I'm not sure what this is, I'm not sure what is it for me. I totally get that. And, I was guided to the Akashic Records when my mentor passed and she left this realm, and she's now one of my guides. And she pushed me to learn how to read the Akashic Records. And like I've talked about before, honestly, I only learned because I wanted to understand my connection with her. But it led me down a beautiful path that it was such a beautiful process that I then read for friends. I've now read for thousands. But again, the way I see it is it's like starting a relationship. There's so many different facets of the records. And as you say, it's a unique journey, right? Everybody's different. But I really believe at a soul level, we all have the ability to read the records. We have access to our own records. And you've heard us talk about guides and soul families before. For me, what the records gave me was a deeper connection to my guides. I guess that's the best way of summarizing it. It's just that deeper connection, because we all have guides, we all get messages. But when you connect the records, for me, it gave me a deeper connection to my guides. It allowed me to hear them at a deeper level, to see them at a deeper level. And I guess that's a good place to go to next. Is there's so many different facets of it, right? So maybe you've heard the previous episodes where we shared a group message. A group message is when you connect with the records and you invite all your guides, all our soul families, and it's a message for the collective. And I guess when we do that, with what I feel is so much love from all of us, all our ascended masters, all our soul families. There's so much love there, and we channel a message, we share it, and that's very different from then getting an individual reading. An individual reading is where you give us access to your soul family, you give us access to your guides, and we effectively are a vessel to channel a message from your guides. And again, you may think, well, hold on, if they're my guides, why would we need to book a reading? Um, Sometimes our ego gets in the way. And what you get when you book a reading, whether it's with us or with anybody, is you're giving the reader an access to your guides to go deeper on your soul contracts, on your soul journey, to share a message that you need to hear. And sometimes the message, a lot of the time we'll get, oh yeah, that sounds so familiar. And yes, that's resonates so much, is because it comes from your soul family. And the message we often get is, well, what do you see? What do you feel? And like Stacey was saying, no two readings are the same. They're all different. I've never experienced energetically the same feeling from any two readings, because our souls are unique to us. Our energies, our vibration, our guides are unique to us. So, and so many people get frustrated when they connect with the guides, because a lot of the time we'll hear, well, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything. Again, even through the records, whether through the records or outside the records, the way our guides communicate can be in all sorts of forms. Can be through a feeling. A lot of the time when I open other people's records, it's through a feeling. I don't see or hear anything, I feel. And that's just as good, right? It doesn't matter how you receive, is how you receive. And that's my only recommendation when you start the journey with the records, is really try and leave your expectations at the door. Because as both me and Stacey says, everybody's journey is unique. Even learning how to read the records, it's a different, I mean, the process may be the same, and we can take you through what that looks like. but how you feel about it is different. We just had a session where we were with one of our mentees. We took him through the process to open his own records, and again, it's so beautiful just watching him connect with the guides, experiencing a past life, and kind of seeing things he's never seen before, and that's beautiful when that happens. But like as many of your as much as possible, leave your expectations at the door. And so, yeah, kind of if I go through, so a group reading is you receiving a message. But again, a lot of time people say that, when I receive a group message, I feel like you're talking to me. Beautiful, because again, it probably is for you, right? Because it's channeled through your guides. And what's to say we're not experiencing collectively very similar things? But when you get an individual reading, it's we connect you to your guides too. So yes, we channel a message and we will share with you whatever's coming through for us. We don't filter it. It's always a beautiful, beautiful experience. But we don't but we also take you through a journey to connect you with some of your soul family, just to feel the vibration of your soul family, your guides. And then we give you an opportunity to ask any questions. And for me, when I open someone's records, one, I feel it's a soul contract. So I feel so blessed because you're giving me access to your soul. You're giving me access to your soul family. It's such a beautiful, beautiful process. And the other thing I'd say is for me, it's a soul contract, i.e., somewhere along the way, our souls agreed that you'd give me permission to open your records and give you insight into your journey. And for anyone that might be fearful and scared as to, well, okay, what might come through? What if will I get someone else's energy and all the rest of it? For us, an Akasha record reading is guided by your guides. So it's completely safe because you're under the protection of your own soul family. So, and I know I get this all the time. Well, what if I take on someone else's energies or energies of a past life? It's a very protected environment. I will always sage the area. I know Stace does too, and kind of cleanse the space. I always try and read from the same spot. I feel like it's a portal. And so it is a very protected space, but I get it, right? It's like Stace was saying, when you hear something you're not you never heard before or you're not sure about, there is a fear, right? It's a fear of change. It's very natural. Um, but like I said, for me, when I'm doing a reading, it's the closest I feel to source because in many ways I'm not there as a human. I'm not there as I'm there as a soul guiding another soul, and I feel so blessed because I'm not there as a human. My ego's not there. I'm just sharing whatever comes through, and it's a beautiful, beautiful process. We'll move on to next as to what training and kind of connect guiding you to read your own records looks like. But I'd love to hear from Stace. Stace, what's it like for you when you open someone's records, either when you do a group reading or when you do an individual? What's it like for you energetically? What do you experience?
I would say for me, there's almost a feeling of like leaving my body or levitating, like in a like I'm having like a out of body experience in a in a positive way, right? Like there are people who've been through horrific things and they leave their body in a negative way, right? But this is like a leaving of the body and a deep connection, like you said, with source. Um, and it takes me to a place of my ego being quiet. And I feel this like I'm just a connector, like um, the telephone line, right? Like between the two phones. Like I feel like I'm the telephone line. And so I'm there acting as a messenger. And sometimes it can be a little nerve-wracking, but this is for any reading. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking when you think like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to come through, which I think every time. Every time I do it, I'm like, I have no idea what's going to come through. So there's this major trust fall as a reader to surrender to whatever the message is for the person, even if it doesn't make sense to you, right? Because it's not about you, the reader, it's about the person that you're delivering the message to and their connection with source, with their soul family, etc. So for me, it's a very like kind of meditative, peaceful place. Um, and it has been from the beginning. I just want to say that because I know people get nervous when there's something that you haven't heard before. And I've had those people that, you prepare to read their records and they're nervous and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to come up. But I will tell you, I don't think I've had an experience yet where someone hasn't said something to the effect of, that was exactly what I needed. There's people who like come prepared with questions and they end up not even asking them because the answers that they needed were already provided in the reading before they could ask, or were validating something coming through that they already feel they knew. And I feel like that just goes to show that on some level, we're all connected with the records and with source. Because when you feel those instinctive things, you're getting messages, right? And we've seen that happen so many times with clients where we'll deliver the message. And then at the end of the message, we ask them if they have any questions. And so many times they're like, no, like you answered them, right? So it's just a beautiful experience. And it's something that feels um, very different than anything I've ever experienced before. Um, there's a space of deep connection. There's usually a feeling for me of kind of like awe that I'm in this space and receiving the downloads that I am. And when I get done a reading, it fills my cup. It's really powerful to guide somebody into the space of experiencing their soul's history. And I feel the connection begin as soon as I start the process. So it's something that I'm grateful that I was able to get out of my own way, because I feel I was definitely in my own way in the beginning. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but just this feeling of like, okay, this is something new and it sounds foreign, so I'm going to be closed off to it. And I felt that way for a little while. And once I experienced it, I was like, why did I wait so long?
It's definitely a divine timing to it. Definitely divine timing to it. And I can relate to. I mean, for me it was hard actually to open my own records. That was kind of the weirdest thing because kind of my ego was in the way, right? It's like, well, is this really message really for me? Am I making it up? Am I, your head gets in the way. Things opened up for me when I started reading for others. There was like a magic to, there was a nervousness too. It's like, hold on, what if nothing, just like you were saying, what if nothing comes through? What if, this one time all of a sudden my guys go quiet or your guys go quiet? And it's like, but actually I've been blessed. It's never, touch wood, it's never happened, right? I've always, and that's the thing. It's such a beautiful process that it's guided, but you have to be open to that magic, right? And it's that, that's why we talk about the different facets because, sometimes it is difficult to open your own records, right? And just, but then we're all here to serve. And for me, when I was reading for others, that's opened up something different in me. So everybody's different, everybody's unique. And, so actually, Stace, what's it like for you to do a group message? How is that different from an individual message for you?
Oh, that's crazy. So I do group sessions when we do our Zooms, but I have to tell you that one of my first um, experiences with a group message in person was a couple of years ago. I hosted an event here in the Baltimore area, and there was a group of like, I'm going to approximate like a dozen of us. And though I had done group online, this was my first like group in person. And let me just tell you, the power of connection with like a group of people and their energy is so awesome. it is a different sensation than when you're just reading one person's records and you're doing a one-to-one session. But the energy of being in the space in a room with all of these souls and all of their history and all that they had experienced was so significant. And I know that this might sound a little like bizarre, but I connect more in the aftermath with the sensation that I had than with the message. Meaning, like, because of how it's channeled, a lot of times I don't remember like what comes through. I go into this alternate space, which I'm not even quite sure how to describe. So, what I connect with or what I feel in aftermath is just this incredible feeling of universal love, right? Because you're not reading for just one person, you've got a room full, and you're experiencing this loving vibration for all of these souls that are around you. And that energy to me gets amplified in a group, whether that group is online or in person, it's amplified. And the sensations that I have afterwards um, kind of remind me of like when I get a massage and you have that feeling where somebody's totally focused on you and then you're relaxed and your body's like jello afterwards. I would say it feels like that for me, where I come away from the experience just feeling so calm and feeling unconditional love. And
Wow.
that's really powerful.
Such a beautiful way of describing it. I love it. I love it. Stacey says, no matter how long you're doing it, there is a part of you that gets in group readings, and there's a part of me that gets nervous too, right? It's kind of really interesting. No matter how much you've done it, it's that I guess the reason is I'm not there as a human, so it's my human ego that's worried. But as soon as I step in, the human goes away. But yeah, it's hard to put into words sometimes. And as I was saying, what me and Stace do. So if you're interested in connecting with the records, obviously you could listen to a previous podcast episode where we open and share a group message. We'd love for you to join us on the Zoom session on the 15th. But you could also book a reading. And what me and Stace offer, and you can either book with us individually or jointly. When you book jointly, you get to experience a joint reading from two healers who are so well connected at a soul level, and you get a reading from a divine feminine and divine masculine perspective. So it's that there's different things that me and Stace bring to the mix. Um, Stacey's great at going deep on your past lives and what that looks like. What I do is, and what I enjoy doing is connecting with your soul families. We have no clue whatever comes through. But yeah, if you're inspired to, yeah, reach out, book a reading, you can do it via many of our websites. We love what we do. We love the joint readings. It's a beautiful kind of journey we take people on. And, the process that we follow is, whether it's individually or jointly, is obviously we'll talk about the process at the beginning. We'll just have a conversation around what it involves to kind of just make sure you're aware. We'll then do a meditation, and the meditation is about it's about the meditation itself. We like to connect you with your higher self, but then it's also about cleansing our energy before we go into the records, so to allow us to go deeper. And then we'll say a prayer to open the records. And then if it's during reading, me and Stacey will both channels whatever comes through, and then we'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions. That's, it's a beautiful process. Normally takes an hour. We'll record the download part of the conversation so you have it on your phone. We always also recommend that you listen to the recording. We give yourself a day or two at least, but ideally listen to it outside, because when you're at home, your ego is strongest, and when you're outside, your connection to source is different. So we'll always recommend. So you'll have that recording for you to keep for as long as you want. We won't keep the recordings because the recordings are not for us. So I will normally delete after a month or so. But yeah, if that inspires you, please do reach out and book a reading. We love what we do. We love the really connecting you with your guides and really sharing a message that you need to hear. And the other message we always get is, or what quite often get is, your connection to your guides is different afterwards. I don't really say better or worse because I don't, who decides that? But generally, your connection to your guides feels stronger. And because part of what we in Stacey want to do is we want to help you connect with your guides at a deeper level. And so, if you're inspired to reach out, um, there are a lot of prayers available online. So if you want to try yourself, feel free to do that too. Um, the only thing I'd always suggest is check what your intention is and check what questions you're asking and just be open to whatever comes through. The more that you can leave your expectations at the door, the better. So yes, that's moving on to the training. Actually, before we do that, Stace, anything you want to share about what a joint reading is like or an individual reading is like that I might have missed? Anything about your experience that you want to share?
I mean, I just feel like we offer a very unique experience where when we do a joint reading, you're given the gift of a representation of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. I don't know of any other readers who do what we do. And I feel like it was very divinely led that we came into the space of even like recognizing that we were meant to do readings together. So I would say if you're really looking to have a unique experience and you want that balance of the divine masculine and divine feminine, booking a joint reading can be so profound because you've got two gifted readers with two very different styles who come together to deliver you a message. And I have found that people are really wowed by that. I am not saying that Nimesh and I aren't powerful readers or gifted readers on our own, but I think there's something really beautiful about the unique approach that we have together that I feel everyone should get to experience. Like it's just, I don't know of anybody else who does this. So I would say that's significant. But I would say the other part of this is um, if you're in a space where you're trying to gain clarity on why you are the way you are, if you're trying to deepen your connection with source and with your soul family, your angels, your guides, this is a great starting point to opening up to yourself and your soul in a way that you may not have done before. And so I found a lot of people come into the experience mainly being curious and they leave so inspired. So I would just say if you're able to do it, have the experience of a joint reading because it is so unique in its approach and it's powerful. Um, it's so interesting to me, like how all of this has come into play, like where Nims and I are like doing the work that we're doing together. I mean, we had no idea that we were being led on this journey, but we have like a rhythm and a way of being in sync with each other that I believe gives the person receiving the reading a powerful experience. And you don't have to do anything to prepare. You just have to show up and be open to whatever is meant for you. And I think that's what's really cool too is like there's no expectation on your part as the person receiving the message to be or do or have a certain thing before you experience this. No matter where you are in your life, if you're trying to gain more clarity, this is one of the ways to get it. And it's really that simple.
So beautifully said. I love how you describe it. It is a unique magical experience, and yeah, always highly recommend it. It's interesting. Even recording this episode, I there's a part of me that struggles pushing what I do. It's really interesting. So we just wanted to share the beauty of the records with you. So I hope you truly feel that love that we have for the records. And maybe you're inspired to learn how to read the records yourself. And we love guiding people to this process. I mean, receiving a reading, as Stacey was talking about, it's such a beautiful process and it's a soul contract. So if there's something in our voice resonates, then maybe that's what you want to experience. Um, and like so you get to ask any questions and you get to go on a journey. And as Stacey was saying, there's nothing you need to do to prepare. There's no, I always get the question, what do I need to do to prepare? No, just bring yourself, be in a quiet space. We always recommend having drink of water with you because it's a nice way of coming back and just be open. Um, the other reason we record is we want you to not have to write anything down, or we just want you to be present in the process. Like guiding people to that modality of being able to open the records for themselves and for others is kind of like a whole different process. It's like a journey. It's like a relationship where you're getting to really feel the energy of what Akashic records are. And so we do this over 3 sessions. The first session is you get to experience a joint reading, like we've already described. So you get to receive a reading. And there's always a week in between each session. The second session is we hold your space while you open your own readings, while you open your own records. And it's beautiful receiving a reading, but experiencing open your own records so you can feel the energy of your guides at a different level. You start to, again, I don't want to describe it too much because each person is different, but you get to then experience what your own records look like. It's again it's a different energy. There's a different vibration to it. There's a different depth to it because then you get to go on a journey to really kind of connect with the records in the whatever way you want. We always, a lot of trainings will kind of be rigid with how you should do it, open the records this way, that way. We have a prayer that we recommend. We always recommend that you cleanse your energy before you open your records. But then it's up to you. You can open your records before you go for a walk, before you go to sleep. You can sit there in a closed eye process and receive whatever you're meant to receive. You can go in and ask an open, closed questions. It's a beautiful journey where you do what's right for you. We're there holding a space. We always create a joint WhatsApp group so you can share whatever your experiences are, any questions you have. Because what we do is we have this session where you open your records, but then we want to support you in between these sessions as you open your own records, as you practice, as you go on that journey. We want to create a safe space for you to share whatever you've gone through. So that's what we'll do. And the third session, so it's like I said, 3 sessions. The third session, we want you to experience what it's like to open someone else's records. So then you get to open either mine or Stacey's records, and you get to experience what the energy of our guides feel like. You get to experience what it's like to feel the vibration of someone else's records. And see, this way you get to kind of experience what it's like to receive. You get to experience, right, what it's like to open your own records, and you get to experience what it's like feeling the energy of someone else's guides. And it really is a journey and a connection and a relationship that you get in with. I love it. I love guiding people. And for me, like I said, it's a soul contract we were meant to. But then this gives you a modality that you can use on yourself. You can start to open other people's records, make it part of your business if that's what you're interested in. Or maybe you just want to learn for you. I love, love, love guiding people to the records. And Stace, how does it feel for you?
It's something that I love doing because I want everyone to have connection. And I want everyone to recognize the power within their own soul. And to me, taking people on that journey, like walking that journey with them and having them integrate this modality into their wheelhouse means that we have more people who are conscious and who are evolved and who are connected. And that has a ripple effect. And I feel like there's no greater impact that you can make than that. So for me, it's exciting when someone makes that decision because I know that it's going to open them up in a way that is nearly indescribable. And I get excited because I get to relive my introduction to the records through introducing every person to the records, right? It's like a memory of what it was like for me. And like you said, we just had a client right before this that we are guiding, and he really went to a deep space in this first experience. And like we said, everybody's experience is different. Some people experience sensations, some people experience color, some people experience impressions. It can happen in a variety of ways, and it will happen in the way that it's meant for you. But with him, just to witness his connection got me excited all over again, like it was my first time. So I love it. I love the process of it. And I love knowing that we've given someone a tool that they can use at any time. That's significant, right? Because we all have those times where we might feel isolated or alone or confused or stressed. And being able to connect with your own records in that time can bring you peace. It can bring you clarity. It can remind you of your purpose. And that's something that you can give yourself at any time you need it. So I love it.
How beautiful. Couldn't agree more. And I just think of some of the people that we've guided to the records and the impact it's had on their lives. Some choose to use it as a modality they do for others and going on a beautiful journey. Others have used it for themselves, and it's just giving them a deeper insight into their soul. I love it. Um, if it's something you're inspired, you feel like you're ready to really truly add this modality as one of your gifts, reach out. We love this process. It's such a beautiful, beautiful process. And I guess I don't normally talk about pricing on the podcast, but I guess just to share, if you feel inspired to book a joint reading, that's $199. You can also book an individual reading with either me or Stace. That's 188. You can tell how much more we how much we love doing the joint. There's not that much price difference, right? So if you're inspired to really connect with the records and add that modality, then it's $444. You can book via any of our websites. Um, like we were saying, records have changed our lives, changed my life in such a profound way. I had no clue. It was just when Sidra left this realm and she talked to me in my head about Akashic Records. I didn't know what they were, so I Googled them too. I heard her talk about it a bit before while she was in this realm in some meditations, but not a lot. So I started listening to podcasts about them, led me to kind of learn, and it's changed my life. So if you feel inspired, like I said, for me, it's a soul contract. So if something in our voices touches your heart, then maybe you're ready for a reading, maybe you're ready for training, or maybe you just want to experience what it's like to receive a group reading on the Zoom call. Whatever you are ready for, then reach out to us, and you can find the links to Zoom call in the show notes. Also, our websites in the show notes. You can go ahead and just find more information there. And I love the Akashic Records. And Stacey, we would normally end with journal prompts. I'm not sure this episode, but I'm curious. Is there any message you want to leave with our listeners on, kind of the impact the records have had on you? Or, for me, trust your heart and soul. Like I said, it's led by your guides. It's a super safe space. So I get the fears, and I get lots of questions whenever somebody books, but it's managed and by your guides who love you unconditionally. But Stace, as we close out this episode, is there any advice, anything you want to add for our listeners?
Just be open. New things come into our orbit when we're meant to be exposed to them. And like I said, when I first heard Akashic Records, I was like, what the heck? But it was something foreign to me, right? And so sometimes things that we haven't heard before can feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean that it's not aligned with us. So give yourself some time to marinate on what we've talked about today and process it and integrate it. And if it's something that you feel like a little buzz about, then pursue it and see what comes of this experience. And if it doesn't help gain some clarity on next steps for you, on what your soul has been through and experienced, I've seen with past lives, in regards to past lives, just to be clear, up until like a couple years ago, I didn't even conceptualize past lives. I was like, we do this once and we're done. That's how I was raised. So for me, getting the exposure to past lives is so crazy. Like it's such a like a bizarre thing that one of the very things that I knew nothing about is something that I channel in readings. But wow, the clarity that people have gotten from understanding some of their soul's history and some of the experiences they've been through. I mean, um, like I'll just give you an example. I had a client who had this fear of water, and she didn't understand where it came from. It was something that like plagued her entire life. And in her reading, it came up that she had experienced a drowning in a past life. And so it gave her a better understanding of why she was feeling what she's feeling, and that it had nothing to do with this life, but with an experience that she had had in a past life. So there's things like that that just open you up. So I would just say, if you're feeling a nudge, reach out to us. We will take you on a journey, give you this experience, and you'll get the recording so you can process it at a later time if need be, and allow yourself to be open to the idea that something new is coming into your orbit, and it's coming into your orbit for a reason.
That's beautiful. It's really interesting. I was raised as a Hindu, and past lives are kind of common in the Hindu religion. So for me, I guess I was growing up that way, and I never, yeah, when I was guiding you to the records, I never thought about, past lives may not be a concept you've heard of before. So it's really interesting how everybody's journey is different, and and you gave that example of a drowning. I've experienced a drowning as a past life too, right? It's that, and it helped me to understand some of my limitations and some of my fears in this life. So beautiful, Stace. Thank you for this space. I love the Akashic Records. They truly have had an impact on my life. I feel so blessed with them. So thank you for being in this space, and thank you to everyone that's listened and gone on a journey with the records. I really I feel blessed with sharing the monthly message. I wasn't sure at the beginning. I was like, well, should I share? People going to listen? Is this really what they want? But actually, I get a really good reaction from the monthly message. So thank you for your support there. Sending you all so much love and light. Thank you for being in this space. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.